Scugog organizations felt blindsided by Water Street project news. Dan Kearns, The Standard, Scugog. A number of local organizations are concerned about the lack of consultation and input into this summer's closure and revitalization of Port Perry's Water Street. At a meeting on Monday, May 13th, Guy Luttrell represented the local Chamber of Commerce, Port Perry BIA, Economic Development Advisory Committee, Heritage Committee, and Accessibility Advisory Committee. The livelihood of businesses is directly affected and will cause hardships that could result in businesses having to close. We don't understand why there was no communication or consultation done with any of the organizations I'm speaking for prior to the tender of Water Street. To close a main commercial area during the height of tourism is a very poor choice. Earlier this year, an update was provided to Scugog Council on the Water Street Revitalization Project by Ward 5 Councillor Terry Coyne. In the BIA report, I stated the refurb of Water Street would allow vehicle traffic during that construction period. That has since been updated, and the entire street of Water Street will be shut down, with no vehicle traffic going between Highway 7A and Queen Street, as I understand it now. At the time, it was noted this was due to the subgrade of the road, and vehicles should not be driving on a road subbase. Mr. Luttrell stated the groups he was speaking for felt blindsided by the news of the Water Street closure. He requested the township not follow through with the current tender, and instead the project should be retendered. However, township staff pointed out for this to happen, the project would be delayed and brought back to square one. In response to the consultation concerns, Robert Frasca, the township's acting director of Public Works and Infrastructure, explained that consultation was done with the community during the previous term of council, when meetings were held on the township's waterfront action plan. The township will be holding 2 public information centers in Scugog Council chambers on Wednesday, May 22nd at 1 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. Ward 2 Councillor Jana Guido stressed the importance of better communication with the business community. As a wife of a business owner, it is difficult to hear business access is going to be tempered for a while, and it's the while which makes it difficult for a business owner. If you are able to tell a business owner you are going to be hindered for 2 or 3 days, you can plan. Maybe staff want a vacation. You can do inventory. But it's the we don't know when and we don't know how long and how it will be affected, which is causing a ripple effect in our business community. It's the unknown, which is always the most frightening thing, especially as a business owner. Work on Water Street is expected to be conducted in August. Public meeting for Downtown Community Improvement Plan in Brock. Daryl Knight, The Standard, Brock. The Township of Brock is gearing up to launch a comprehensive Downtown Community Improvement Plan, CIP, aimed at invigorating the downtown areas of Beaverton, Cannington, and Sunderland. Designed to stimulate private investment, the plan offers a spectrum of financial incentives targeting various objectives such as building revitalization, facade and signage enhancements, property improvements, housing, intensification, redevelopment, heritage preservation, and commercial viability support. To solicit public feedback, the Township has scheduled a hybrid public meeting for Monday, May 27th at 6 p.m. Participants can either attend in person at the Council Chambers located at 1 Cameron Street East in Cannington or join electronically. Those opting for electronic participation must pre-register with the Clerk's Department by emailing clerks@brock.ca. A call-in option may also be provided. The Township is encouraging written submissions before or after the meeting, addressing any queries or comments regarding the proposed plan. Interested individuals can access additional information about the Downtown CIP review on the Township's website or by contacting Robin Prentice, Director of Development Services, at 705-432-2355, extension 235, or robin.prentice@brock.ca. With the impending public meeting, stakeholders have the opportunity to shape the future of the downtown areas, ensuring a vibrant and prosperous community for years to come. Uxbridge considers significant increase in development charges. Daryl Knight, The Standard, Uxbridge. In a recent council meeting, Deputy Treasurer Carly Summers presented a compelling report advocating for substantial alterations to the township's development charges. These proposed changes, if implemented, would result in some rates nearly doubling, aiming to bolster municipal finances for essential infrastructure. Development charges are crucial in financing the capital infrastructure necessary to support municipal services for new developments. These services include roads, stormwater management, parks, and other amenities vital for community well-being. According to Ms. Summers' report, which was part of the agenda for a special council meeting on Monday, May 6th, the current development charge for a single or semi-detached residence stands at $20,268 per unit. However, under the proposed adjustments, this figure would surge to $31,846 by month's end. Similarly, substantial hikes are anticipated across municipal residential buildings. For instance, apartment development charges are slated to rise to $26,835 from the current $15,517. Even for specialized units catering to special needs, the charge is set to nearly double, from $6,967 to $11,600. Development Services Manager Kyle Rainbow emphasized these increases are substantiated by data underscoring their necessity for sustaining the township's infrastructure. Importantly, Mr. Rainbow clarified the augmented rates would not impinge on the affordable housing initiatives, as this category remains exempt from development charges. Treasurer Toby Lee contextualized the proposed adjustments, noting Uxbridge's development charges currently rank as middle of the pack compared to neighboring municipalities. This observation highlights the township's position relative to its peers in terms of financial obligations levied on developers. The deliberation over development charges underscores the township's commitment to balancing fiscal responsibility with sustainable growth. 2 students seek help from Kawartha Lakes to get Fleming College to change their programming decision. Dan Kearns, The Standard, Kawartha Lakes. 2 Fleming College students are turning to the City of Kawartha Lakes for help after the college recently announced the suspension of a number of programs. At a Committee of the Whole meeting on Tuesday, May 7th, Emily Wakeham and Suzanne Mooser made a deputation to Council about their concerns with the college's recently announced plan to suspend 29 programs. Ms. Wakeham acknowledged colleges don't fall under a municipality's purview, but noted her overall goal with the deputation was for the Council resolution to be made to urge the college to keep the programs at the Frost campus in Lindsay, and for the public to put pressure on the college for the reversal of their decision. This year, 43 programs were cut from the college. This is an unprecedented amount of educational cuts, Ms. Wakeham added. The decision on these suspensions was made in late April. A statement from Maureen Adamson, the president of Fleming College, posted on May 1st on the college's website, states, of the 29 suspended programs at Fleming for admission in fall of 2024, some have low projected domestic enrollment, others have zero projected domestic enrollment, and other programs are no longer financially sustainable, with the enrollment levels that do not cover the cost of delivery. Any program suspension decisions rest with the authority of the Board of Governors of Fleming College. Until a Board of Governors motion is passed, there was no related information to convey. Immediately following the board decision on April 23rd, we communicated the information to the unions. We then felt it was prudent to meet with the program facility and program support staff to inform them of the decision and our commitment to our students through the teach-out periods. Key stakeholders were also contacted. I want to assure you the academic, management, and governance leadership of Fleming College is committed to honoring the OPSU collective agreements and the employment stability process to mitigate impacts wherever required, the statement added. However, Ms. Wakeham said she felt these decisions undermine the identity of Fleming College, and at least one of the cuts jeopardizes the number of qualified people working in the environmental natural resource sector. While there are no official numbers, the union estimates a total loss of 1,200 students in the next 2 years. This will have a major impact on the community, as students spend, on average, $20,000 a year in Lindsay. That's tens of millions of dollars lost in the local economy. This will also have an impact on local businesses who rely on students to fill part-time positions and contribute to revenue, she said. She also felt the college offering fewer programs will push people out of Lindsay. This issue is expected to be discussed further at the next council meeting on Tuesday, May 21st.
Welcome to You've Got to Be Kidding, a podcast that offers a different perspective of life around us. Listen now to author Jonathan van Bilsen.
In the very early 90s, I had an opportunity to MC an event in Orlando, Florida, and introduce the headlining act, who was none other than famous country star Dolly Parton. Being quite nervous, my first task was to stand on a stage in front of 2,000 people, all members of a large corporation, and welcome them. Surprisingly, it was easier than I expected. My days in radio prepared me somewhat for public speaking, and I have always learned that being very familiar with your subject helps. Although Dolly Parton was the headliner, a comedian whose name has drifted far from the annals of my memory banks preceded her, and I was tasked with introducing him to the crowd. I recall him being a bit arrogant when he gave me his 2-line bio prior to the start of the event, but I was young and quite honored to be on stage. After my flawless introduction, I walked to the wings and waited patiently, hoping Miss Parton would soon get there. A moment later, while listening tentatively to the comedian's repertoire, I did not notice a headliner step beside me. It was actually the strong odor of perfume which made me look over. You can imagine how stunned I was when, standing less than a dozen centimeters beside me, was one of country music's most famous stars. I'd rehearsed a short hello and planned to tell her of my encounter with Kenny Rogers 20 years earlier, but none of that happened. I uttered a sheepish hello and managed to blurt out my name. She smiled and introduced herself, which was funny, as it was quite obvious who she was. We listened to the not-so-funny comedian who was wrapping up. I watched him skim over the audience as he said, "I believe I see Dolly Parton out there." He paused as people glanced around. He continued, "Oh, I'm sorry," he said. "I'm looking at 2 bald-headed men." People laughed, but Dolly Parton was not amused. I watched her shake her head and curse louder than she intended and blurted out a profanity. I stepped onto the stage and said something nice about the comedian and introduced Dolly Parton. She came out, microphone in hand, a big smile on her face, and said, "Thank you, John." She remembered my name. All I can say is, wow. I'm Jonathan van Bilsen, and this is You've Got to Be Kidding.
You've Got to Be Kidding was presented by X4 Media with permission from the Standard Media Group. We endeavor to make all information contained in this program as accurate as possible at production time. X4 Media and the Standard Media Group are not responsible for any liabilities resulting from information contained in this program. For more information, please visit x4media.ca.
The Standard Podcast was produced by Greenstream Studio for the Standard newspaper.